Welcome to the Scene Snobs Podcast.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Scene Snobs Podcast. It is Tuesday night, 7 p.m., and you guys are here joining in live. And if you're not, you're listening to us at a later time, I appreciate you. Thank you all so much for the support. Thank you for listening, being a part of it, joining the Snobs Nation, whether you're in the Facebook group or you're on the Discord or in Patreon or wherever you may be, just following us on the social media. You guys are all awesome. Thank you guys so much. We are excited. It's kind of a crazy week. With the writer strike now being, not folded into, but sort of like become a little bit broader with the SAG-AFTRA strike. We're going to get into that. We're going to have a deep conversation. Chris Lumser from the Long Coat Mafia podcast is going to join me. Wize Otero's from the Stuck in My Mind podcast is going to join me. We're going to talk about it a little bit. It's been mostly opinion-based. I am trying to get a buddy of mine who is in the SAG to jump in and talk to me about that side of things. So stay tuned for future shows. We're going to be getting into that side of it as well. So let's see who's here. The worst damn gamer ever. What's going on, Chris? How you doing? He says, what's up? How you all doing, Snob Nation? AJ's here. Hey, Mick, happy Tuesday. Happy Tuesday to you, sir. Hope you're doing well, my friend. Mick the man. I wish I was, dude. You're the man. I love you too, brother. Thank you guys so much for joining in. So I'll tell you, as we've kind of been going on and it's been getting more and more like, exciting to, learn what's actually happening and to see everybody's reaction to the strikes. We've been learning a lot more. So yesterday they put out the influencer guidelines. So you don't even have to be a member of SAG-AFTRA, but now with the influencer and the content creators sort of agreements with the SAG-AFTRA, and so many people who are, working as influencers today are content creators wanting to work into the industry. They've sort of kind of coexisted for a little while now, especially with TikTok and YouTube and things like that. So they put out their influencer guidelines. And again, we're going to talk about that tonight too when we get into it. And Chris and Wise join me on the show. But it's an interesting dynamic. A lot of people seem to be very vocal now that the SAG-AFTRA have joined the strike. And when the Writers Guild joined the strike, we didn't see so much of, I didn't see so much backlash, going on. It seems like Adam Conover, who is sort of like the face of WGA right now, because he's one of the heads kind of within the strike, doing the negotiations and things like that. He's been very vocal on the social media and things like that about what's going on, making sure everybody's kind of still planned out and knows what's happening and why. Well, it seems like everybody's sort of been on his side, but once the SAG-AFTRA strike occurred, it changed things up quite a bit. The dynamic sort of seemed to go the other way. And, before we get into that sort of conversation where we get more in depth, and before we get into the influencer side and the content creator, because, I have to follow a lot of those rules and such too, but to an extent, I'm not looking to be in SAG. I'm not looking to get back into an industry that I was already in. But I do find respect and I do stand with the strikes. So, and the organization striking. So, my point to right now with what's happening in the, it's such a weird dynamic because a lot of people are like going after the actors based on money. And it's such a hard, I get where some people are coming from with inflation these days and things and the economy being what it is, so many people suffering and going through a hard time. How do you say to somebody like, oh, listen, they're just fighting for better wages, they're fighting for this, that, and the other thing. How do you spell it out for somebody? You can't be indignant when people are suffering. And yes, the faces that we're seeing that are the biggest talking right now within the SAG-AFTRA strike are celebrities who make really good money. So But you got to keep in mind, and one thing I would say is keep an open mind as this is going on. This is a huge organization. It's a huge union, and it covers a lot of people, a lot. And a lot of those people don't make that money you think they make. And that fight is a lot about them. So when you're, a lot of the videos I see that just seem very indignant and snide and upset, I get where they're coming from. I get where the upsetness, is kind of drawn from. But I just hope that all of you kind of keep in mind these are people fighting for fair wage. It is tough to be a writer or to be an actor outside of Los Angeles or New York when you're starting out. If you want to be in those industries, the television or the film industry, you got to be there. And LA is really where it is. That's where all the casting directors are. That's where all of the agents are set up. Like it's a matter of networking on top of, just going out there to catch your big break. Like there are so many factors that go into why you should be in LA. I lived in LA for 5 years and I would never take anything away from it. I made some great connections. And I think that's the important part here when it comes down to, remembering this and kind of how it comes, like these places, this isn't, sorry, I just need to send something to one of my guests, but these these things, like LA isn't a hub that, you can say whatever you want. I mean, I have a lot of bad things I can say about LA, but when you're starting out, New York and LA are the hubs. That's where you go. You want to go, you want to get noticed. Like I understand there's a lot of talk about independent and how this works and things like that. And I will never take away from independent. I'm a big supporter of independent filmmaking. My issue here is that we're, it's like this fight that has to be like, well, we're independent, so we're against the unions, or we're against Hollywood, or we're against this. And it shouldn't be. That's just not how it works. Now, I'm going to talk to this. This is a different fight for another day. This is a different point to bring up, different topics, but the strikes, and seeing a lot of people who are influencers, content creators, who are essentially filmmakers themselves, making video work and things like that, and taking jobs as editors, taking jobs as writers, taking jobs as performers. Stop crapping on this union that you may not be in, because it protects a lot of people. And right now, one of the biggest things that they're fighting against is the fact that they want to use the likeness forever on background actors. That's horrific. These actors, that's their, like these day players, things like that. Like that's their jobs. Go out and be background actors. That's how they're making their living while they're out there. And to take that away and just say, well, once we have you, we're good. We're just going to use that from now on. That's terrible. We can elaborate more as we get into it, but we are going to start. We're going to bring on some guests some more. We're going to bring on our two guests. We're going to talk about this and some more. And then I have a great Snobs movie summer school for you, where we'll be talking about suspension of disbelief and when it goes too far, or when you can kind of keep it regulated and it works for you. And then, of course, we're going to have another movie of Did I Just Fix? And this nice movie is The Secret of My Success, which is the Michael J. Fox movie from 1987. So let's get into it. I want to bring in my two guests tonight. We have Chris Lemsler. He is the host of the Longcoat Mafia podcast. And then we have Will Wize Otero, who is the host of Stuck in My Mind podcast. Thank you guys so much for joining me tonight. How are you guys?
I'm doing well, brother. How you doing?
I'm doing all right.
I'm doing well.
All right. Thank you guys.
Everybody out there, peace, love. So,
peace, love, and rock and roll. So,
right.
So, guys, thank you so much last minute for joining me. I really appreciate it. Just to have this discussion and kind of what's going on with the strike. I reached out to you guys talking about it a little bit, and a lot of it's going to be mostly opinions and things like that. But I would love to hear sort of where you're coming, what your thoughts on this are from the standpoint of, content creators, but also fans. So Chris, we had talked about this a little bit first. Let me start with you. Where are you at with the strikes? You said you were kind of paying close attention to them, right?
I'm paying close attention as I can be. I'm on your side with this. I might not know all the intricate details in regards to SAG and how royalties are spread out over time in regards to that. Maybe an actor who is a member of SAG could go into further detail in regards to that. So if anybody out there is more knowledgeable, please let me know. I'll be more than happy to change my mind in regards to it. But maybe Mick could let me know. But it's, as Mick stated, it's not just the major celebrities. They in a way, yes, they're affected as well. I want to say Michelle. I want to make sure I'm getting her name right. I'm not sure if you saw her video that I think she put up on TikTok, or it's been making rounds. Michelle Hurd from Picard. She put it out. There's a lot of folks like her. They're not working 22, 23, 24 episodes. They're now working 5 or 10 episodes tops. So they're not making the same number of yearly income as they were years ago. That's number one. Number two, again, I'm sure you, Mick, have seen the TikTok of the actress who appeared in Orange is the New Black. That video has been making the rounds again. And it's not just one page. She shared several pages of her royalties from overseas. And they were, if you look, pause the screen to look at it, the lowest she was paid, I wouldn't say paid. She wasn't getting paid. There was like royalty, zero, all across the board. And there was others that were like a nickel, others that were like 2 cents, others that 3 cents. Her total for 3 pages of across the seas was $27 and change. That's not even a tank of gas in most cases. So, and as I was telling Sasha earlier, recording an episode from my show, you have to look at it like this. Her trauma aside, Jeanette McCurdy, who is best known as Sam from iCarly and Sam and Cat. She started out as a background actor, as, a advert actor. Then she got her big break in Nickelodeon with iCarly. And granted, she's not a big celebrity now, but if it wasn't for that beginning work, she would not have made it big. That's number one. And to go into a point that you made, that with the background actors, their rights, hey, we're going to pay you $500 for a day's work pay. And from then on out, we got your image. Yeah. What's to expand on your point? What's to stop the studios, whether it be Sony, Warner Brothers, Disney, of hiring someone like Jack Black or whomever for one day, and from then on out, they're using their image.
Yeah. I mean, we're seeing it more and more now today in movies. I mean, we just saw The Flash, which had Christopher Reeve on there, had Helen Slater, Nicolas Cage, Adam West, George Reeves. So, it had all of these actors who are long, either gone or had nothing to do with the film. Were just connected to DC in some way. And yeah, you may go to them and get the okay, but where does it now? They're doing it without the actual actors there, and it's right. that can be a problem. And before Chris, I let you go, I want to get Wise's opinion on this as well. Wise, what do you think about this as it's kind of going in and everything Chris is saying?
Well, it's crazy because when I'm sure we're old enough to remember when TV series had almost 30 episodes, 30 episodes a season. And now we're getting 10, 15 episodes. So I understand where they're coming from, where y'all cutting our work back, first of all, because we're not doing the same amount of episodes we used to do back in the days. Now, like she said, we're doing 5, some series are 5, 6 episodes.
Yeah.
That's like a month worth of shows. When we're used to watching shows, I used to remember seeing 30 new episodes of the A-Team or whatever other show I used to watch. And just, but now it's like, okay, after a couple of weeks, the series is done. So it's and with streaming services, of course, it's changed the game for everyone. It's now they're producing, these streaming services are producing their own movies now.
Yeah.
I'll go. I'm sorry to interrupt, Mick, and your other guest. I'll go two further. One of which, Mick, you said you were a former SAG, right?
No, I wouldn't say.
No. Either way, my apologies. Think of it like this, Mick. You go in. Let's say, in regards to my example, they own your image. Your image is now this major big movie star. You're not earning a dang thing. And everybody's asking you for your autograph, and you're living in a trailer park in like Kentucky or Utah or someplace like that, and working at McDonald's. You're not making any money.
Well, that's not.
I know it's iffy.
The case, because that does happen.
I'm just saying it's that iffy ground.
Well,
it's that
no,
iffy ground.
It's not that. It's only iffy when it comes to what are they projecting as your image. So. Now, I'm an actor. I step in. I agree to do this role. Now, at any level, from independent all the way up, you're going to sign forms that are going to say we have the right to use your image however we want, because it's going to be edited however you're going to do it. And we do, and we get paid for it, and we agree to our residuals or royalties. That's why we have our representation, or we don't. We figure it out for ourselves. This is a situation where I definitely agree with you to a point, like, because now if I'm an actor and I finish a movie and they have that footage, they own that footage. Anything I'm in, they can use that footage, as long as it's agreed upon. Like if they want to put me in a porno, using that footage, like I'm sitting there watching a porn, there are agreements that have to be met within our contracts. Some people don't know that. That's why we have representation. That's how it is. This is a little bit different with the AI and with the deep fake and things like that, and the CGI that they're doing. Where you're right, and this is where it gets sketchy. Like if they own that footage, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. And as long as it's agreed upon in the contract to use it in different things, like remember when they had the John Wayne, was it Bud Light commercials back in the day, where John Wayne would come out and, he was long dead, but they would still use scenes from movies from him. You get those permissions and such to do that, but that's footage is still owned. Like you can still use that however you want. Like the studio sells that to Bud Light if they want to use that, not the Wayne family. So my point with that, and kind of how this is playing out, now they're saying that we can use that footage recurringly over and over and over again in all these different movies that you have no chance at even looking at first. And that's where it comes in wrong. It comes to in place where it's wrong, is because it's like, okay, I don't even know what you're using it for. And it may not even be me. Like you may just use my likeness. So you may deep fake me onto somebody else. You may do that. Now, how does an actor stand starting out?
Right. That's my point. That's why I'm asking questions. How slippery can this slope get? And the actors and actresses striking is the perfect thing in saying, hey, wait a minute. We want to prevent this slope from getting way too slippery now, instead of it, or to kind of quote Babylon 5, Kosh from Babylon 5, the avalanche has already started. It is too late for the pebbles to vote. So it's better now that the pebbles vote before the avalanche gets started, and it's too late in a way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you're right. And the means don't justify the ends. So like the studios clearly want to use this new technology to make movies and do it cheaply. Mm-hmm. They have inflated these budgets with these huge stars for too long. Now it's not just the stars. I'm not just blaming them, like, because the executives make their money. Everybody makes way more than 20 million at this point. Right. The big wigs. And the below the line, you're lucky if they make 100 a day. The real grunt workers, the real ones doing it. Even the writers, you're lucky if they're making, like there's some writers that do well and they make a good living.
And as to prove, print. Yeah, Adam Conover is the biggest voice right now, and those making the money because they have the biggest voice, they could have the bigger voice to speak for the folks that are not making it. And some of the folks are complaining in regards to the writers. They're making $68K a year on average, or the median, $68K. Depending on who you talk to, it's roughly the same number, give or take. Now, you got to figure in California, California, LA, San Francisco, it's a higher cost of living, just like in New York City, in New York. $68K in New York City and LA might be the equivalent of here in Virginia and West Virginia and Pennsylvania, it being like $12 to $24K a year. It's completely, saying, hey, they make $68K a year. Yeah, they have plenty. Might not be. There is a term called house poor, which means you can be making $100K a year and just barely surviving, making ends meet.
You throw a couple of kids in there, 100K isn't that much.
Ain't nothing. It goes easy. Yeah.
No, let me just say I could be wrong. It's just that I'm saying it in regards to questions like, hey, if I'm wrong, let me know. And
well, I want to hear your opinion on this. So thinking about it, the WGA strike has been like kind of eminently coming for a while now. Like they've been talking about it. They've been pissed off. And I will agree to this. Writers are wildly underpaid for what they do. Like, I mean, ultimately, the writers are serving you up the blueprint of everything we're seeing. And we put a lot of emphasis on everyone higher than the writer. And that's just my personal opinion. Now, I'm not going to stick that to you. But so for you, do you think that SAG and coming in and having a strike now overshadows the writers, or do you think that it will help?
If they're doing it in unison with the writers, so for me, I feel it actually boosts them up, because now you have these stars, you have the Will Smiths, you have all these other people speaking out, talking about we're not gonna do movies if these writers don't get paid the way they're supposed to get paid. And to me, when the money makers are out there protesting and not working, then eventually the companies are gonna have to fold. They're going to lose too much money waiting for this strike to end.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and that's generally how it always seems to work out. You get the companies finally like, all right, we got to get back to work, so let's figure out a deal. And the AI is just not going to work. It's not, because nobody's.
It's not even. Listen, the AI is limited on what it can do. They can do some great deep fakes and stuff like that, but you can still see how it's not really. You can still see the flaws in the AI and how the sound, how the video looks and all. So it's just, and I use AI tools for my podcast and everything. So, but to me, it's not gonna replace live action. There's nothing they can do that's gonna replace live action because of the way they record it and everything. Who knows? Maybe down the line with technology they might, but at this moment, I don't think AI is. We're not going to be happy watching AI movies right now.
Yeah, I agree.
And as I told Sasha on my show that I recorded earlier, right now is a prime time for everybody that's watching. That hey, we got the stuff for reruns and all this and everything else. It's a prime time to seek out independent creators like Scene Snob, Mick and Scene Snobs, or the gentleman that below. What's your name again, sir?
Will.
I apologize, Will.
Okay.
Check out his show. Check out my show. Heck, as I told Sasha, it's a prime time to visit your local horror show, HorrorCon, pop culture show, whatever, that might have independent movie creators that are using local workers, local folks like Mick, myself, Will, as actors, and it gives you a chance to explore something new, or visit the independent theaters that are out there that are showing these. They might not be the best creators or the best product out there, like what Hollywood could put out, but it's original. By supporting them, they get floated up to the top, and they could become the next big thing when this strike is over. It gives them a learning experience and access to better equipment.
True, and it's seeking out independent is always good. Supporting the unions is smart, because it is, and they're just fighting for a living wage, and there's a small percentage that are celebrities. This is a big union with a lot of people, and I know a lot of people who are struggling just to make ends meet, and being on strike ain't gonna help with anything, and that's in both unions. Now, I do want to say that it's starting to affect content creators and influencers today. Now, this is a whole different world than even 2007 when the writer's strike started, and the last time SAG had a strike was 1980. So this is a whole new world with a lot of different things happening. Influencers are, in some instances, just as famous as any of the celebrities out there marching on SAG. The content creators are just as prevalent as most of the directors that are running around today. This is who people know. This is how the younger generation is taking things in. So for them to be hit, first I want to ask, as content creators yourselves, and we'll go Will and then we'll go Chris, what, before we get into the guidelines, do you think there should be a separation between these unions and the content creators and the influencers? I'll put those as one: influencers, content creators.
For me, I know it affects shows like yours. It shows like Tim's, and Jeff's as well, Jeff Dwoskins, because you guys have celebrities on your show. You guys have writers, you have actors. So for those content creators that have celebrities, actors, and writers that come on their show, it's definitely going to hurt them, because now if these actors aren't going to come on their show now, what are they supposed to do for content? They can create original content, yes, but a lot of these shows that thrive on having these interviews, it's going to hurt them as well. And it sucks, because a lot of them are independent content creators that are just trying to get by, and to lose a guest that would have helped that podcast gets, or whatever you're doing, some type of recognition. It sucks.
Yeah, that's good. Well put. Chris, how about you, man?
Yeah, it can hurt the fact that, as an example, it came out that TikToker, props to history, nothing against him, he puts out wonderful content. He stated in one of his bits on TikTok that he was offered $4,000 a week to cross the line. And I'm sure you saw, Mick, that any influencer or creator, independent creator like us or TikToker, crosses that line. We can't be a part of SAG, period, ever. I'm not sure how true that is, but that's one of the things I heard. And as somebody that I won't say eventually, the odds are small. I probably have a better job of hitting the Powerball this weekend than making it big in Hollywood right now. But if something does happen, I won't, and I cross the line now, I can't do it. I can't do it because I crossed the line earlier. I can't be a member of SAG. I lose out on the benefits or being able to talk, or how do I put it, to be a part of SAG and that benefits, that care. So I will support them. And I'll keep my ear to the ground. As someone who is not as big as Mick, it relies on celebrities. I will still get the interviews I can from events that still have celebrities that are not representing current projects, if I'm allowed that interview politely.
Well, I think you can still interview. So basically, you can still interview a celebrity, but you can't interview or promote anything,
any product, anything in
right.
movies. Yeah.
So any new products that's work. So like, if Tom Cruise wanted to come on the show and talk about Dead Reckoning, that's not a shark product. That's out. He can talk about that now.
Well, can he? Because he's kind of promoting. He's kind of promoting it now. Like, it's out now. So
yeah. So like it's a project that's already.
So you think
basically
it's
the
projects for the
that
future? It's future projects.
That's one of the things I was wondering. It's like it with like Dead Reckoning. It's out now. Can they talk? Because it seemed a little weird to me.
Any projects that are in production since the strike started are considered struck projects. Okay. So you're not supposed to be working, like the writers aren't supposed to be working on them, and the actors, of course, aren't. Now, I think with a lot of what was going on and how the studios are trying to press a lot of the writers, especially showrunners, because a lot of writers will turn into showrunners eventually, but they still are in the WGA. When it comes down to it, they were being forced to say, okay, you don't have to come back in a writing capacity, but you need to come back to work every day in a producing capacity as a showrunner. And that was taking away from the solidarity of walking the picket lines. So I know a lot of people left their, a lot of higher ups that are doing show running left their productions to go be a part of, their stuff. And I know it's hurting a lot. Marvel's hurting a lot. They're pushing things back. Disney's hurting quite a bit. And that's just going to keep coming. And we're not going to see anything new for quite a bit, especially if what they are saying, the studio is saying that they're waiting them out, that they're waiting the writers out to lose their houses, to lose their jobs, things like that. Wow. If they wait until October, they'll wait for them to be out of options and come back. And if that is the case, if that is a true story and a true statement that studio heads were making, man, they're in for a rude awakening because they're already not making enough. Why not fight for it, So, but yeah, with the influencers, so the guidelines have come out. And so basically, can you promote screenings and content produced by struck companies? Influencers should not accept any new work for promotion. So if you do have a contract with somebody, where, say you whether it be on Podcorn or whatever else, like you picked up a contract where you were going to promote this movie or this actor or whatever is going on, you can continue in the agreed upon times to do it. But once the contract's up, no, then I say it's null and void. You shouldn't pick up anymore. If you're under contract to promote a struck company's content, if you're under contract, again, still fulfill the obligation, but until the obligation's over, and then nothing with struck work. You should not be promoting on social media as a fan and not in a paid capacity. So that's another one. As influencers, you should not be posting or promoting about anything. So, and also attending conventions. If you are attending conventions, it cannot be through any other channel that is, contracted with anybody who's struck. So if you're going to go to conventions, and you're going to post and stuff like that, they're asking you that you leave any struck work off, and you don't.
So how does it affect Comic-Con? It's like
I've been hearing a lot of that. Gigi Edgley, who's best known for a character in Farscape, has stated that I'm able to be at that event, saying, hey, I'm the better example, William Shatner. He could go to Comic-Con as, hey, I'm William Shatner. I used to be in Star Trek. That's fine. Yeah. As long as nothing that's currently...
Promote yourself. You can't promote something that's upcoming. Yeah.
Right. I'm known for, this, and this, and this. Or Tara Strong.
So San Diego Comic-Con isn't going to have all the panels of the new movies coming out and things like that because they can't promote anything that's happening.
That's one of the things I just heard, Mick, because a couple of months ago, a lot of folks were saying something different in regards to Netflix and Disney Plus. Now they're saying the reason why they're not showing up is because they were preempting the SAG strike and along with the Writers Guild strike. So who knows what the final story is?
I think you're going to have very dry Comic-Con in terms of promotions and things like that. You're not going to have a lot of studios there. there's not going to be any celebrities really there unless it's the guests, like you were saying, like the ones who are just there for the signings, not promoting anything. That's sort of their bread and butter, because you can't take that away from them. You know, like the William Shatner's at this point, that's how he makes his money. The dude's done with acting, you know, and the other guy, you know, other guys and gals who go, like, that's just taking that away from him, I think would just be...
You have to figure, again, Tara Strong, legendary voice actress. She's known for a lot of things. I'm sure she loves to meet her fans, and she probably still has the ability to work. But she's a part of SAG, or the Voice Actors Guild. She can't work, but she still could head to her show and meet her fans, sign posters and photos of the characters that she's played. So,
but she cannot promote current characters.
Right.
So that's the only thing. So, like, when it comes to, it's so dicey, and that's why you see a lot of people pull out of things like personal appearances, stuff like that, because you never know. Like they know, and it can be explained to them. They have people to do that and such. So it's not rocket science, but God forbid you have a banner up and it has a current show that's struck, then somebody takes a picture with you in front of it, and then it's like, oh, look what happened at this Comic-Con. You're promoting this show. It's such a, you know, like, you don't want to see it happen, but at the same time, it's like people will go crazy. I mean, I'm watching TikTok now, and the bashing of the unions being on strike, and it boggles my mind. It really does boggle my mind. The people who are just like, well, they don't give a shit about us, so why should I give a shit about them? And it's just like, okay, let's take just kindness out of the mix. let's just remove kindness real quick, and then you know, and say, okay, let's focus on, maybe just on shit talk. It's very hard for people, I think. Everybody just has a goddamn opinion. Even now, we're just talking about it, but like, there's just these vicious opinions about, like, they don't give a shit about us. Why should we give a shit about them? Because if these unions aren't fighting, what are you going to fight for? Now, I mean that in the, okay, maybe you work for a grocery store, maybe you work for whatever, I don't care, and you want minimum wage to be raised. When you start fighting, but you're telling everybody else to fuck off, they're not going to give a shit about what you're fighting for. Stop talking shit. Stop getting mad because the other guy is fighting for his piece of the pie. You know, like that's my biggest thing, is like, every time I see these, it's like, you all have a goddamn opinion about these people who are going out there on the picket lines. So you're defending the billionaires because you're mad at the millionaires? Because you're neither? Okay. Like, it all sucks. We all need to fight it, but
yep.
as of right now, like, let the people who need to fight right now fight.
Right.
But that's right now where content creation seems to be. So it doesn't really matter. They're promoting it either way. So that was my soapbox moment. So, but you know, as we're kind of going on, any closing thoughts you guys want to talk about, and as you go, like, Will, I'll let you go, and then tell us about your show, and then Chris, I'm going to let you go, and then tell us about your show.
I hope it ends soon, man. It's gonna be a while. It's gonna be crazy if we don't get any new content. Well, it might benefit us as content creators, because now people need to consume more content. But I love movies, man. So I would love the strike to end soon. I'm excited for a lot of the projects that are coming out. So please companies give in and pay these writers what they're worth, man. They're worth a lot of money, and I've made billions off these writers, and they just want their piece of the pie. Just give it to them. Absolutely. And you catch my podcast, Stuck in My Mind podcast, on all major platforms, YouTube, Stuck in My Mind podcast, and every major audio podcast platform available.
All right, perfect. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it, Wize, coming back and being on the show. Chris, go ahead, man, to give us your final thought on it and tell us about your show.
What more can I say? Will pretty much said everything I could say, and I concur with Will. It's going to suck right now with not having a lot of new content unless it's about to be released either this year. I can't wait. I don't say I can't wait. I want to see what kind of ripples are going to happen from once it ends and how things fall. I support the writer's strike and the Screen Actors Guild strike. So these folks need to get paid what they deserve, and how they're being treated is kind of sketchy and sucky. I know that sounds a little weird and wrong, but or childish, if you will. But either way, that's it. And I agree with Will. And as per my podcast, again, my podcast, the Long Coat Mafia Podcast, the internet's most hated mafia-themed geek podcast. We are found on all major platforms, including YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and so forth and so on. We are, currently have a challenge coming up in regards to kind of getting updated equipment for the show, but still, that's neither here and there. I want to thank Mick for having us on his platform right now. Check us out. Just do a search for the Long Coat Mafia Podcast on YouTube. You'll find us. I'm sure Mick will provide all the links in regards to, or at least our link that we sent him to find us all. Or I should say, if you want, head on over to our main website, which is thelongcoatmafia.podbean.com. Just pick an episode. All our links are there.
Yep. Hard to argue. And the links are down in the description, so you can go check them out. I want to say thank you to Chris. Thank you to Will. Appreciate you guys so much for jumping on the show tonight and talking with me, having a fun conversation. You guys are both awesome. Go check out their shows. Again, the links are down below. Thank you guys again.
Thank
you, Mick.
Me.
All right. Take care, gents. Until next time.
Later, guys.
Guys, so that was a lot of fun. It was a great guys to talk to. Will and Chris are really nice guys. But I just wanted to take a moment. This episode is brought to you by Entertainment Earth. Guys, we have an affiliate link down in the description below. If you use that link to get any one of these amazing collectibles, I get my Funko Pops from there and more, but go check them out. You get 10% off when you use our link. It helps us go a long way. We appreciate you. But if you spend over $59, and that is not hard to do on this site, you will get free shipping and another 10% off. So go check them out. See what they got. You might find something you really like. They have something for everybody. All different types of geek stuff that we all love. And stuff for the kids as well. So Entertainment Earth. Go check them out. Thank you, guys. All right, guys. So we had a great talk about the strike. We're going to kind of continue that beat. We're going to go on as the show continues on. And, I'm going to be getting a lot of guests on to kind of come on and discuss where it's at and where it's going, and knowledgeable people who have opinions and want to talk about it. So but I want to talk to you guys a little bit about what we have going on here at the Scene Snobs. Now, if you guys are not privy to it, we have a lot of great shows that, we really like to do and really appreciate, making and producing. And we would love for you to join in and be a part of it and see what we got going on. And let us know what you think. So one of our shows, of course, the Scene Snobs Podcast, if you guys are listening to this or you're watching it, this is one of our favorite shows to do. But we also have Patreon shows. So if you go over to our Patreon, we have a bunch of different shows, some coming up, and one that is very popular, near and dear to my heart. That's Warp Factor Fiction. It's a chronological rewatch podcast of the Star Trek on screen. So we are on episode 9 and 10 will be coming out this month, and we'll be covering Discovery Season 1, the first half, and then the second half. It's me and my stepson Tommy do it. We have a great time. We really get into it, and we have a lot of fun. At the first half of the month, it's on Patreon. Or at the first month, it's on Patreon. Then it's available as a podcast and on YouTube as a video series. After that, you can check it out. But we have 2 other shows that are going to be podcasts and also video series, but they're going to be on Patreon. And that is the Totally Tubular 80s and 90s Rewatch podcast. We're going to have a really good time with that one. So if you guys want to jump back and be a part of it, that will be up on our Patreon. So go check it out. It'll be every tier from the $5 up. And then we have another video series, the Snobs Film School. So we have started the Snobs Movie Summer School. We kind of talk about the theory of things. But I spent over 20 years in the film industry, working in some capacity, working all different areas. And I picked up a lot of different things. And so we're going to do this video series where we talk about different aspects of filmmaking and things like that and really get into it. But we are adding templates. We're adding AMAs, one-on-one meetings, consulting, things like that. It's all spelled out. It's up on our Patreon. So go take a look. Let us know what you think. If you're interested in filmmaking, it might be a benefit to you. I went to film school, but some people don't want to go to film school. Might be nice to have just a video series where it kind of covers it. So now let's continue on the show, shall we? I've taken you down a path long enough. This week on Snobs Movie Summer School, we're talking about suspension of disbelief. Now, what is suspension of disbelief? Suspension of disbelief is to allow oneself to believe that something is true, even when it seems impossible. Now, what got me thinking about this? So I went and saw the new Mission Impossible movie. If there's anything that should have, any type of movie that should have suspension of disbelief, it's probably the Mission Impossible movies. It's right there in the title, Impossible. And, one of the things I absolutely love about those movies is that they really push the envelope. They really, with the stunts, with the storytelling, the action is just so prevalent and it is truly respected. And then I thought about, what is it about suspension of disbelief in movies that works but also doesn't work? Because there are times where we get to a point where, we just can't accept it. And I had talked about this a bit when I had done my Dead Reckoning review in comparison to the Fast movies. And we're going to kind of cover a few different things, and they're going to, we're going to get into it a little bit. But my thing about suspension of disbelief is I believe that it is okay to allow yourself to suspend that disbelief and get into the movie as long as it's within the vein of who the characters in the world that have been set up are. So anytime the physics that you set up for me, I can watch a movie called Who Framed Roger Rabbit, where it's completely zany and anything is possible. Truly anything is possible. And that's fine by me. But if you added something in there that does not work, and you ask me to suspend my disbelief that shouldn't work in this realm, and what wouldn't work in something like that? But it's just, anything could, not work in something like that. If you make it too serious, you push, you go too far with things and you make it too violent. The violence is supposed to be absurd. It's supposed to be funny. But if you make it when they're doing the vat of, it's not juice. I forget what they called it in the movie, but the spray that they had, and they put the shoe in, and that's really violent. That's really dark. But they've been setting up the joke the whole time. And even when you get to that dark moment, that is the tension buildup. So it's still within the realm of disbelief that you can suspend it and be fine. Now, what do I mean? Let's take it to a different point of view. So, if you watch Tom Cruise Mission Impossible movie, nothing he does fits outside the realm of the physics they built within that movie from beginning to end, because he still is doing his stunts. He's still doing all of these things. And it all sort of fits. And I think that's what's important to him when he makes these movies, is that it fits and it's believable. It's believable because he's doing it, because it's being worked on, because it's being planned. everything is practical that can be practical. And if it's visual effects, it's not taking away from the believability factor. But then you go over to something like the Fast X franchise, and they've pushed too far. Now you are expecting us to suspend this disbelief, but you've taken us from DVD stealing race car drivers to basically godlike superheroes. And now in this last one, you're supposed to put them in real danger. No one believes that. They've been in real danger the whole time and nobody dies. So you've pushed us past the brink of, being able to suspend that. So that's what I mean when I say, what is suspension of disbelief? When does it work? When doesn't work? And now if you have multiple movies in franchise, like look at the Friday the 13th movies, you could work. You could suspend that disbelief even up to where he wasn't actually in New York City. You could even do that. But then you got to Jason Goes to Hell and you're like, what is this? We already died. We don't need another death. And what's the heart eating? It doesn't make sense. I'm out. And then once you're out, you lose people. It's hard to get them back to where you want to be. And that's even within a 2-hour movie. It's within a franchise. It's within a trilogy, a series, whatever. Once you lose them, they're out. You're most likely not going to bring them back. And I think that's what happened with Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. We nuked the fridge. That should have never happened. Now I hear people say, like, I didn't mind to nuke the fridge. I didn't care. What was it that caused the issue? Why were the vines, him swinging from the vines, not able to believe? It's because everything shifted. If you watch all 3 of those movies before Kingdom and the Crystal Skull, everything that's happening is fantastical. It's whimsical. Would it most likely happen? You have voodoo. You have the Ark of the Covenant open up and melting faces. You have the Holy Grail aging people and causing earthquakes. You have things that are so far beyond belief that you can't help but suspend your disbelief to enjoy it. But it all makes sense because everything is grounded. Once that moment happened in Kingdom of the Crystal Skull and you had the nuke the fridge moment, it wasn't fantastical. It was over the top. And it was no longer, you took the thing that wasn't grounded. You took the character that kept us grounded throughout the entire time, regardless of what he was doing or what he was going through. And now you made him do this over the top thing. And when that happened, nothing else was believable in it. So, and I think that bled over into this new one. Once it stopped being believable, we stopped caring. And now there's a lot of things wrong with Crystal Skull, but that was the biggest complaint, I think. Once you took the belief that this is a real deal thing, that's like clipping the wings from Superman. Like, I know he doesn't have wings, but calm down. But like, if you did something, now Superman's a character who can do anything. We are supposed to suspend disbelief all over the place. But where's the fun in that when it comes to Superman? So what do? You ground him. You make sure that even if he can do anything, he will force himself not to. And you make that character even more interesting. He's the character, it's not. You have the yin to his yang, where you have Batman, a character who trains himself so he is capable of doing anything, but he still cannot do everything, but he pushes himself too far beyond the point. And so that's the duality that's going on. And then the believability factor is when we watch Batman, when he gets hurt and he's suffering, we believe it because this is a guy who pushes himself to the brink. This is a guy who is so intent and obsessed with what's going on. We believe he'll just heal himself. And then we see Superman and we know this guy can do whatever he wants, but we believe in him. We believe in who he is, and we believe in his ideals and his values and what he's bringing to the table, that we can suspend any disbelief. Like, that's why when he killed Zod, and I can forgive it because it still fits, because that's his first ever brush with having to kill somebody. And I think that is a good thing in movies, to actually kill some, like if you have a character who is refusing to kill, And Superman, who did not go through that trauma, should kill somebody to, especially another Kryptonian, to force him to make that decision. I will never do it again. Like, whereas Batman watched his parents die, he dealt with that trauma. Now I'm getting off the base of the suspension of disbelief, but that's what I'm saying is, like, we believe in him. So if he changes, if Superman can do anything, but if his character changes, that's when you're going to lose us. Now, Batman pushes himself to the brink. He's obsessed. He does everything. He can change his character. He can change how he does things. Like when he becomes a dad, he does this thing. It's when you start having him do the awkward things where it's like, I don't believe this. Yeah, the bat nipples. Don't believe it. You know, I cannot suspend it. It's past it. So, like, it's important when it comes to suspension of disbelief to understand, like, it's very easy to fall out of, but as long as you keep it within the parameters of what your characters are capable of within the world that they've built, you cannot just take a turn, make a hard left turn, and in a movie or in a TV show, and say, okay, this is how the world works now with no explanation. We will not believe it. Jason Taylor Sherry says, hey, Mick, just got home from the birthday. Thank you for joining in, guys. So that's my cover on suspension of disbelief. I will be again doing the video series for Snobs Film School, and that's kind of what these are based off of. So, like, I do these where we have small talks, and then I'll do more in-depth there. And I am going to get more in-depth with some clips and things like that, suspension of disbelief, and really get into, from the writer's perspective and from the filmmaker's perspective, how to stay in line with, your character and your world that you're building. Whenever you're writing, you can change it however you want. You can make the world whatever it is, but make sure you stick to whatever it is. If unicorns exist in your world, that's fine. Even if they're brought to life within your story, that's fine too. But then they have to exist in your world. They can't be doing things, and that's your free pass to make anything happen. That's where suspension of disbelief goes away. And we'll get into an in-depth conversation about that with writing, things like that, directing. So that, if you guys are interested in that video series, like I said, that's going to be over on Patreon. Go check it out. But thank you for watching this. If you're watching this as a clip, or you're watching this or listening to it on the Scene Snobs Podcast, we always appreciate it. But let's get into our next segment, which is, Did I Just Fix? And this week's movie is The Secret of My Success. Now, I picked this one, and the reason I picked this one is because I was watching it. I watched it the other day. I haven't seen this movie since probably the 80s. Came out in 1987. Herbert Ross directed. He had a lot of movies that he directed back in the day. A lot of them were musicals and things. He was a big theater guy, a big dance choreography guy. So when he started taking on movies, he was a good director. But I noticed that movies that he produced maybe weren't his best product. And this is one of the movies that he produced. Now, I like The Secret of My Success. I love Michael J. Fox. There are things with this movie that are troublesome. And it's a raunchy sex comedy, which I did not remember it being. I remember watching it on TV as a kid, but I didn't remember it being this raunchy sex comedy. Now, I remember, he had an affair with his aunt, which was odd. And as a kid, I don't think I thought about it. But as a adult watching this movie, I'm like, okay, interesting, crazy. And then, but the whole thing is a little too convoluted. So let me get to the story. Brantley, played by Michael J. Fox, is coming from the Midwest. He went to college. He wants to make it in the world of business. So he moves to New York City. He's supposed to have a job there, waiting for him. And as he gets in, he finds out the job is gone. So now he's kind of up the creek without a paddle. As he's going, he is trying to figure out where to get a new job, what to do. His mother's pushing him, go talk to your uncle. He runs some business out there. I'm sure he would meet with you. He had never met the uncle before. So finally he goes and sees him. They get along pretty well. He gives him a job in the mailroom. So Brantley thinks that he should probably be doing more because he is a smart guy in the movie. He's a really smart, business-minded guy who has a way of doing things. I think there's a brilliance that's supposed to be there. So as it kind of comes about, Brantley is doing his thing. He's, working, he's working his way up. He's doing the mailroom, kind of going into it and things like that. And then he gets pulled in to drive the boss's wife home. Drives the wife home. He doesn't know it's his aunt. Winds up, she's unhappy in the marriage, can't stand it. Sleeps with him. Find out that it's his aunt because he sees his uncle walking in. And it all is catastrophe from there. The aunt is now smitten with him, but he's in love with another executive that works there, played by Helen Slater. It's supposed to be a rom-com, but it's not really. It just doesn't work. And another side storyline that they have going on is they're doing company-wide layoffs. So a lot of the jobs that are supposed to be getting done are being doubled up around. So he just starts taking over those jobs, takes over an office that has just been emptied out and starts doing the jobs and making things work. So he made up this whole person a la Shawshank and becomes an executive at the business. The uncle thinks it's corporate espionage. The whole thing is just convoluted. It's crazy as I go on and I even think about it. And the fact of the matter is, I would have preferred to see a movie that was missing one of these elements. I think you had one too many elements because it's all tied up into a nice little bow at the end. The uncle's the ultimate bad guy, is what it is. But it just doesn't work for me because ultimately Brantley didn't have an affair with his, knowing that she was married, had an affair with his aunt or his uncle. Then also, and I think they kind of explained it that it's not really his uncle. It's just kind of like a friend of the family or whatever, but whatever. And then Helen Slater kind of comes back in and wants to work with him. There's no chemistry between them. So if you want to have the romantic angle of it, I would think if you want to push it and have this raunchy sex type of comedy, whatever, I would push it in a way that's make the uncle an ass to him. He still gets a job in the mailroom. Maybe he got the job in the mailroom without the uncle, meets the uncle. The uncle's an ass to him. Then you have him, unknowingly, because you still have to keep him the hero, sleep with his wife. Then when he finds out, oh my God, you're my aunt. This is crazy. I shouldn't have done this. She's like, the divorce papers we're separated. Divorce papers are all but signed and whatnot. And we're on our way to it, and I like you. And then make the rom-com between them. Maybe she's trying to keep pushing and he's trying to stay out of it because he's trying to get into the business and do the executive side. Now you can do that. I think that would make for a better movie. And then by the end, they kind of come around. You find out that the company was actually hers, which is what it was in the movie. And she buys out the stocks. And then they come together and he kind of works with her, helps her build the company back out and to push the uncle out. You can kind of keep that and it still works. It's still kind of shitty, but just make the uncle even worse. He was a cheater. He was terrible to her. He was terrible to him. He is a terrible guy overall, a terrible business guy and everything else. But if you had kept the love story between them, I think that would have been different. It would have been a little more interesting. And, then I could see the ending kind of playing out the way it did. You don't need to keep the ending that way. Honestly, I think it would be better if it didn't work out for him and he had to kind of not even go back, but had to go find his way another way. But now he has more experience and such. I think ending like that in movies like this are better. But if you want the happy ending, I just say you keep that as there. But you could keep to have the young Helen Slater type of character. She was very young at that time, very beautiful. although there was no chemistry between her and Michael J. Fox, they just didn't work well. It was like Wood acting against Michael J. Fox. It just wasn't working. So the chemistry just wasn't there. I would recast her, but then lose the aunt angle. Just have him as a guy who starts in the mailroom on his uncle's company and decides to start doing side work to build his way up and start pretending to be an executive to get, to maybe meet her, to do whatever else. And then you can play that up and it'd be more rom-com traditional sense. I think either way would work. I think the Ant one would be a more interesting type of movie. That's my fix for it. I think that's how you make The Secret of My Success a little bit different, a little bit more interesting. But I would love to hear what you guys think. Of course, to do these, people give them to me. So if you have a movie you want me to fix, my only parameters are please make it a movie that is kind of obscure, maybe a box office bomb. It has to be a studio film. I will not do this with indie films. So if you guys have movies that you want me to try, please let me know. Go check out our other stuff. Thank you guys for watching this, whether you're watching this in the clip or you're watching or listening on the Scene Snobs podcast. I truly appreciate you. Thank you guys again. I'm Mick Manhattan from the Scene Snobs. Guys, thank you for watching and listening to the podcast. It's been kind of a crazy time lately. I've been sort of going through the motions, trying to figure out what the next steps are with everything and kind of what's going on. And I truly just appreciate all the wonderful support I've been getting with the show. The numbers have been going up, and I just always appreciate that. And it just means the world to me that you guys are watching, you're listening, you're checking out all of our stuff. But please, if you would, I really appreciate if you would give us a like and subscribe here on YouTube if you're watching or listening, or even if you're not, maybe go check us out on YouTube if that's a place that you guys go and hang out, and give us a subscribe. We'd appreciate it. But if wherever you are watching or listening, please give us a follow and please rank and review us. We really appreciate it. That helps us go a long way. I know we're on Spotify, Stitcher, Good Pods, Amazon Music, Apple. We're on everything, literally everything. Go down below in the description and you can click on over. Thank you guys again so much for joining in. I'm Mick Manhattan. Stay groovy, stay cool, stay snobby, and I will talk to you guys very, very soon. Love yous. Take care.